What if the darkest secrets of human history weren't hidden in ancient myths, but in cold, sterile laboratories, dripping with blood and cruelty? What if science wasn't used to save lives, but to tear them apart? Tonight, we open a door that most people are too afraid to even peek into. The Nazi experiments that turned human beings into test subjects for nightmares. And I promise you, once you hear what really happened, you'll never look at history the same way again. Story 1. 1942. The Frozen Hell. In Germany, February 1942. Nazi doctors became obsessed with one cruel question: how much cold can the human body survive? Prisoners were dragged out into the bitter night, stripped naked, and bound beneath the freezing sky. Some were submerged in tanks filled with ice water, their teeth chattering until they cracked. Others were left outside, drenched in freezing buckets of water, slowly stiffening like statues. But the torment didn't end there. Once their bodies went limp, rescue methods were tested, pouring scalding water over their skin, rubbing them so hard the flesh peeled away, or forcing women to press their bare skin against the frozen bodies, trying to transfer warmth. Some prisoners lasted hours, others slipped away in silence, their last breaths turning to frost in the air. All of this just to see how long German pilots might survive after falling into icy seas. But here's the question: when survival comes at this price, is it worth it? Story 2. 1943. The bone-crushing experiments. In August 1943, at Ravensbrück concentration camp, Nazi surgeons had a different obsession: bones, muscles, and nerves. They took women, mostly Polish prisoners, and deliberately shattered their legs with hammers. Once broken, the bones were cut open, and wood, glass, even dirt was shoved inside the wounds to mimic battlefield injuries. The women lay screaming as infections spread. Limbs turned black. Many had their legs amputated, not to save them, but to study the results. Those who survived were left crippled for life, unable to walk, dragged through the camp like discarded furniture. These were not experiments. They were rehearsals in human suffering. Story 3. 1942. The sulfa drug trials. In July 1942, Nazi doctors began testing sulfa drugs, meant to treat infections. Sounds like medicine, right? But the way they tested it was monstrous. They sliced open prisoners' legs, inserting gangrene bacteria directly into the wounds. Then, to make it worse, shards of glass and rusty nails were stuffed inside to guarantee infection. Victims writhed in agony, pus oozing from festering wounds, while doctors scribbled notes as if observing lab rats. Most died slowly, not from the bacteria, but from the cruelty of neglect. Imagine being locked in a room, smelling rotting flesh, hearing endless cries, and knowing you'd be next. Story 4. 1942. The Twins of Auschwitz. And then, there were the twins. 1942. Auschwitz. Josef Mengele, the so-called Angel of Death, had a fascination with twins. Children were snatched from their mothers, often smiling, still believing they'd been chosen for something special. Instead, they were injected with chemicals, their blood swapped, their organs probed. One twin might be deliberately infected with a deadly disease, while the other was kept as a control. When one child died, Mengele would kill the surviving twin too, just so he could dissect them side by side. Survivors remember walking past rows of tiny corpses, lifeless, innocent, robbed of futures. If this story disturbed you, it should, because remembering is the only way to make sure it never happens again. Like this video, share it, and most importantly, don't let these stories fade into silence.